Hello folks, Reverend Crystal Cox here, Goddess Church, Port Townsend. You can email me at reverendcrystalcox@gmail.com. If you have any questions or tidbits. That's a big old flame. I'm just going to visit with you about Port Townsend homeless issues. This will be about the Michael Allmain case. Just a little ramble here. If you're watching these videos, I'm going to assume that you either, one, really care about Michael and homeless people, or you're looking for a reason to vilify me, press criminal charges against me, sue me for slander. I'm already getting threats. Don't care. It's the worst that can happen. $2.5 million judgment. Been there, done that. Jail. Who cares? Maybe be a nice place to sleep. You know, I didn't do nothing wrong. So, that flame is beautiful. Spirit must be here. So I feel that Spirit is leading me, prompting me to talk about this. So I'm going to visit with you about some different things I've experienced being homeless in Port Townsend. So am I saying that the Humane Society and the police should not take animals that are abused? No, I'm not. Also, Center Valley Animal Rescue, I think there was 50 pets found that were horrible. I think they saved. There was a case in Montana about 20 years ago, the 48 hours. It used to be like Dateline, or if you're old enough to know these shows. Some locals were trying to get some horses away from this guy. He had 40 of them. They were meat falling off them, half dead. Couldn't get any law enforcement because it's, the guy was one of the police informants. There was a whole bunch of weird things. So I really do commend Center Valley Animal Rescue for the good work they do. And I'm not trying to demonize you in any way. I send you love and peace, and I really feel that transparency is important, and I really feel that there was a misstep in this case, and there needs to be changes made on how all of you folks deal with the dogs of a homeless person. Now, if a person's in a house and they're beating their dog, kicking it, and someone witnesses all this horrible stuff they do to the dog and you take the dog, it should definitely be taken. If a person lives in a car, a tent, or in the street and they're kicking their dog, they're hitting their dog, they're purposely abusing and neglecting their dog, they got anger issues, they got, yeah, it's understandable. But there's no one that's witnessed any of that with Michael. And I witnessed Michael every day for years, every morning and every night. He's a gentle man. He's a very smart man. He's in touch with the Great Spirit. He lost everything. He lost his home, connections with his children, his other pets. Obviously very an animal man. You can see that Moses with a little bunny. I mean, wolf hybrid, it's like nose and a bunny like this. Anyway, that's on michaelandmoses.blogspot.com. But Michael's a sweetheart. He didn't abuse Moses. He didn't deliberately, intentionally abuse Moses. Was Moses neglected? If all homeless people are held to this standard, is what I want. I want equality with the people that live in houses and the people that don't live at houses. Okay? So there's a huge difference, though. If someone lives in a home and you take their pet, they might be heartbroken, they might be suicidal, they might. But odds are they're going to be okay. They might be depressed, they might get drunk, they might, do drugs. I know some people think only the homeless have addictions, but they might be really depressed. So if you catch wind of a dog in someone's house in Port Townsend, they have a skin condition, ear mites, and they have teeth issues, and you go in and take the dog for those reasons, I just don't think that these same people would go in and take the dog for these reasons. They're not, really. They're saying that they want the dog for these other reasons. I get it. They're trying to prove pattern in history. That's a good thing to do in criminal cases, civil cases. Timeline's everything, right? But it was a criminal case. They investigated it. Okay? It was over in July 2019. It prejudices him as a matter of law, in my opinion, to bring in a bunch of hearsay and evidence from a prior case that he wasn't convicted in. So there was no proven anything. You can't do that as a matter of law, as far as I understand it. I mean, even if you're trying to prove pattern in history, you can't, because he wasn't convicted of anything that happened before, so how can you use that as evidence against this time? And so, I get it. They're trying to do that. I might be all over the place, but I'll do a few of these. If my haters are watching, like I said, there's nothing I can do, you know? Whatever. And I lost that train of thought. Okay, so am I saying that homeless people, it's okay for them to abuse their dogs? No, I'm not. But if a homeless person has a dog, it's their warmth, it's their safety, it's life or death, for those reasons. But homeless people tend to attach their animals in a different way than people in houses. People in homes are very bonded with their dogs, right? But sometimes they sleep on the floor, right? They sleep in the garage, they sleep outside, the owners go to work, and they have a regular life. Homeless people are with their dog 24/7. And they've had a circumstance that's made them homeless. They're living outside. Okay? When you take their dog, and this is a little graphic to say, but maybe a program to be humane about it, and maybe the police officer could be given permission to shoot the homeless person. Okay? Put them out of their misery. They take the dog to save the dog, and they leave the man to die. I'm not going to talk about Michael's mental stuff too much here, but his will to live has been barely there. He has 2 teenage children. He has people that care about him. I'm just a stranger that witnessed something that's telling you what happened. Oh, when we go back to the Center Valley Animal Rescue, they do beautiful things, and I'm sure they do a lot of lovely things. They got caught up in something and a misunderstanding, and they vilified a man. And it's almost cost him his life, and the life of some people around him. So when you find a homeless man's dog, and he's abusing it, kicking it, being mean and angry, yeah, take it. The guy's obviously aggressive, and he's going to hurt some people. And if you're abusing a dog, you know, it's the first sign of domestic violence, right? You're going to abuse a dog, you're going to abuse a person. But Michael didn't abuse the dog. He fell on hard times. Depression, poverty. Okay? Center Valley Animal Rescue really has what they're most guilty of is tunnel vision. Save the pet, save the dog, save the dog. Superheroes do that. I get it. They've probably done a ton of superhero things. And I don't want to paint Center Valley Animal Rescue in a broad stroke of everything they've done as evil. My object here is to give a voice to the homeless, because this is happening to all of them with dogs. Okay? And it's pretty creepy when people will take the dog and leave a man in a tent or a car or a camper or in the street and take his dog. Why can't you help them both? So the counties will, at some point, I'll estimate some of this, but you think about Center Valley Animal Rescue, right? 13,000, what is it? Like 12,000. The city, 2,500. All of the cops' wages, all of the emails, all the wages of the people that emailed, the court case, everything. Surely it would have been cheaper just to get the guy's dog's teeth fixed. Right? So the old issue is he drug his dog and he's bad and he abused the dog. So vigilante justice, which I think Center Valley Animal Rescue just kind of fell into. Everybody jumped on the bandwagon. Everybody thought they knew, and they ended up creating a lynch mob that created real world harm. And I don't want this to happen to anybody else. Okay, so kind of losing my train of thought, something, but I just keep coming back to, I just want to tell you folks that I'm not saying Center Valley Animal Rescue is an evil place and they're bad, or don't donate to them or whatever. They've clearly done a lot of amazing things. But I don't believe that people understand the perspective of the homeless in this. And to automatically assume that the man did things on purpose, neglect and abuse. Okay, so assuming that. To assume that he drug his dog and that he's bad, piece of shit, bastard, gonna drag him behind a car, all of these things that are on the Center Valley Animal Rescue thread. But they deleted this man's story, his truth. I find that kind of stuff creepy. And I don't think it's right. And I hope that you guys don't do it again. And I think it's violated a whole bunch of laws and ethics, but just basic humanity. You know, you almost killed this guy. Do you care? How many others have you done it to, right? And then to have somebody message one of my associates in my church and a close friend and say that, well, the prominent people say, and there's a history he did this. There isn't a history. Unless it's a legal conviction, you can't just find his animal at large, November 23rd, right? Someone called it in. And then by noon the next day, Michelle Sanchez, as you see in the thread, knows that it was missing. You know, some guys, how does the public, anyone in the public really know if something went missing the next day, right? I mean, they know later, right? It's not in the paper, it's not really anything yet. So, and then they can't handle the dog, so then they sign something that sends it to Center Valley Animal Rescue. I don't know the relationship, but it wasn't based on that incident. It was based on their prejudice of a prior incident, okay? So they took it in their own hands with vigilante justice to say, look, the prosecutor did a bad job last time. Nobody did this right by this animal, so we're going to steal the dog. And we're going to do vigilante justice and make sure the owner never gets it, regardless of what the courts do. And so the thread of the Center Valley Animal Rescue that I shows that they had intent to do that for over a year. And with Adam Karp, an attorney, on board. He looks like a sweet man. He looks like he really wants to do good. I really do believe this was an accident. But it's an accident that's caused real world harm and set a precedence for all of us homeless folks. I don't have a pet. I didn't have a pet in my vehicle, but I see a lot of people around Port Townsend with dogs. And are you going to do this to all of them? Because they can't afford to get their dog's teeth fixed? The dog has a skin issue. They can't afford to fix it. So why not just say, hey, you know, got some money here. The dog needs help, okay? So maybe 2 weeks of help, okay? Take the dog and the man, okay? Maybe facilities don't have that, okay? Okay. So Center Valley Animal Rescue has it. Okay, so maybe the dog's on like house arrest. And the guy's at either a hotel, you know, put him up for a hotel for 2 weeks, be cheaper than all this other stuff. Or, you know, leave him in his tent or wherever he's at, you know, doing his thing. And let him come and visit the dog like an hour a day, right? Why did they demonize him so much that he wouldn't let him see his dog? Because it's not just like a regular person. Seeing the dog would have given him a will to live. He's in luck, right? Like he said in one of his write-ups, he had an ace up his sleeve, and that was God. And so he has two strong women in his life, me being one of them, to help him hang on. So when you take a homeless person's dog, I beg of you, Jefferson County, and anyone listening to this, please spend a few $1,000s on hotels and fixing the pet, instead of we're heading towards maybe $20,000 in wages, $20,000 in vet bills. You could have his issue. He didn't really need to stay at the vet. He has teeth issues, so it was causing him to not be able to eat. So I looked at the vet report. I'm not going to post it because, but he did have skin stuff. He has teeth stuff, and he has mites. How many homeless people's pets have that? How many people in Port Townsend's pets have that? Does that give you the right to then take his property, of which he has consumer rights, you know? So there's a lot of laws going to come in to this, but does that give you the right? So the current issue, the dog's missing, he's picked up. Oh, he's got teeth issues, he's got these things that the vet needs, right? And when you look at the vet report, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Okay, this happens with dogs. Yeah, he had an infection, he had some bacteria, had some different things. Not, you know, and they said he's in chronic pain. I can't attest to that. I've seen him every day. He didn't look like he's in pain. He had no issue with Michael. Michael loved him. He's compassionate and kind to him. He talked sweet to him. He trained him. He loved him. He'd give him the bed in the back of the truck while this 6-foot-tall man sat in the front. He didn't neglect the dog. He didn't abuse the dog. Now, did the dog accidentally get neglected because the homeless man was depressed and suffering? Possibly. Possibly the homeless person has some bacteria in their teeth. Health issues. They're stressed. They could use some money. They could use some food. But Washington, I guess, is animal first, they say. Why? Does that just apply to people in houses? There's no way an animal first law should apply to homeless people, okay? It should be both. You take them both together. Well, we can't. We don't have no facility for the person. I know you think you don't, but I've had moments where I would have loved a kennel to sleep in. I'm not ashamed to say it. Where I just craved to be warm, to stretch my legs out, and to have some privacy. I would have lived in a kennel with my dog. Michael probably would have slept in that kennel with the dog. Maybe might even been more comfortable in the front of his truck. People are like, you know, you can't just let the homeless sleep in a shed. You can't let them sleep in this or that. That's inhumane. So let's just let them go back to their tents and freeze to death and ignore that they exist. Okay, don't think that we wouldn't love to sleep in a dog kennel. A warm, private dog kennel. There's been times where I would have. And I know I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of homeless people over the last decade that would love that. So, how about a program where you take both of them? Where you find a homeless person that's got a dog that's got mites and infections and skin issues, and you take them together to the shelter. Like, this could have been so cool. It's like, hey guy, come on. Maybe Center Valley Animal Rescue had an extra room in the barn or something, or put him in the kennel with them and say, all right, dude, you're going to work some of this off, you know, make him shovel some horse poop, do some things to work it off. You know, work with him. Have some human decency. But they were accidentally an evil, dark, obsessive lynch mob. Because their heart was broke. Something happened in their life. They're very sensitive, emotional things. They thought this man drug his dog. And he is a sick and evil. They called him every name in the book. Key word there being thought, right? What I witnessed was a sweetheart of a man. People even said, they put on messages, that dog looks sad. He looks skinny. Michael looks skinny and pretty sad too. I hope that this case makes people aware that a homeless man has just as much value as a homeless dog. And that saving the man, maybe helping his teeth out, giving him a little food, a warm place to be for 4 months, like they've done his dog that I allege they stole, to have some basic humanity. I get it for those who really felt that he did what they said, but he wasn't convicted of it and there was no witnesses. And I know him well enough to know he didn't. See my friend? No. I've seen him twice now. Once was when I testified in court for him. First time's the interview you guys see on my site, michaelandmoses.blogspot.com. We're not friends. I hope to be friends with him someday. He's an awesome man. But I witnessed a kind man that talks soft to his dog. One night, I was sitting in my car talking on the phone to a friend for an hour and a half on Facebook, FaceTime, my steering wheel. And he stood there down on the side of the road for that hour and a half down there at the Maritime Center. I'm like, what's he doing? I'm talking to my friend about, what's he doing, right? And the dog's just sitting there right beside him. They're just sweet. And he's, at some point, you're like, you go like this or whatever. If a dog's abused and you go like this or even swat a fly, they're like, I know neurotic dogs. But we won't talk about my family members, but, neurotic dogs. So it turned out he was waiting for a phone call because it's, the internet down there at Velocity. So he was waiting for communication. And when that came in, he then left. But I watched him face to face almost for that whole time. I can't believe that dog's so well behaved, The dog was just sweet. Happy. I didn't see any signs of pain. I didn't see any signs of skin issues. I did not look in his teeth. I would not do that. And I didn't know Michael because I lived in a car near a car that he lived in, a truck. And so I witnessed that he was kind. He fed the dog and he wasn't abusive or neglectful. And so those were the things I was testifying to. So when people brought up stuff from 2 years ago, they're like, well, you didn't know this. I'm like, well, but how do I need to know that from 2 years ago? I'm just giving witness. I'm just telling you what I saw every day and every night for years and at Safeway. And that hundreds, if not thousands of people over 4 years in Port Townsend saw him. So if you thought he was abusing him, why didn't all these people put criminal charges? Okay? And July 2019, which is also on my new blog, the prosecutor Kennedy said they can't charge Michael Allmain for second-degree animal cruelty because of economic factors. It's an affirmative defense because he's homeless. So for Officer Wendy and for the prosecutor this time, Melissa Plyman, to even be going for these charges seems a little odd to me. It's a vindictive lynch mob that wants to get the dog away from the man so they can feel good about themselves emotionally. They've saved a dog. And they don't mind destroying a man. He didn't drag his dog. Okay? November 23rd, someone let his dog off the leash. Can't prove it. Someday maybe. Get some cameras, get something. But it does seem mighty suspicious to me that by the evening of that, when he gets home, I don't know, 7 o'clock at night, right? His dog's gone. Went to Port Angeles or something for a few hours for supplies. The dog couldn't go. Gets home, dog's gone. The overnight, so by the next morning, the people knew. Months later, they didn't tell the owner. That same July 2019 Port Townsend Leader article says that they have to tell the owner by law. They can't air his business. They can't disclose private information. But this time they didn't care. They're like, we've had it. This guy again, he's got a history of this. He wasn't convicted of anything. He has no history of it. You can't say he has a history of criminal activity if he wasn't involved in it. You can as a free speech right, I mean, it's your opinion, but not as a matter of law in a new case, in a new criminal case. That's not how I understand those laws. And if the courts here do, you know, whatever, but so I don't know if this will run out or not. I'm going to probably do a couple of them, but homeless people have equal rights, and that's what I'm shooting for. If they know that the dog, they knew who he belonged to, okay, they could have helped him together. Could have been like, hey dude, we got your dog, we'd like to help you to help your dog, get your dog back to you. But instead, they've created a huge mess. And now that I've read that July 2019 Leader article, which I hadn't read until a couple days ago, I'm shocked. They said being homeless is an affirmative defense to second-degree animal cruelty. Now they're charging him with it. They did a whole lot of hypocrisy, a whole lot of rights violation in what I see, and abusive process, unclean hands, malicious prosecution, selective prosecution, consumer rights laws, and there's other laws that we're going to turn up. I'd say we, but I really mean, you know, me. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to get it from freedom of information and all these other aspects, so I say we. This video is probably going to end in a minute, so I want to leave you with Center Valley Animal Rescue does good things. I know they do. I feel it in my heart, and I've seen some of the stuff, like 50 animals, whatever. This was something that is unfortunately happened to everybody. I think that they're trying really hard to dig in and save face. They decided to take justice in their own hands and place a lien on this man's private property with intent over a year and 2 years. The post thread was May 2019, but then a year or so later is when Adam Karp, the animal attorney, and these people joined, and they premeditated to steal his property. Okay, that's what I'm alleging. And so when it came time to do it, they enacted that. So it was from this prior emotional heightened state of save the dog, the guy, and it kind of got out of hand. And they've risked his life for it and the life of his children. And I don't think that they've followed the law, and they've certainly not been compassionate. When you're taking the dog of a homeless person, please think twice. Please take them together. It's cheaper. Just like the Housing First laws. It's cheaper to house people than to figure out all this mental stuff. Okay, let's treat them for drugs. Let's treat them for mental issues. Let's treat them for pneumonia. Let's treat them for all these things and then put them back out in the street. Or if you just give them a house, it'd probably clear up all the other stuff. There is tons of information out there, Housing First, and how that saves all of the governments, the counties, everybody money. But they'd rather spend a massive amount of money fighting this man than a small amount of helping the man. Because they thought he was neglectful and abusive, and they drug his dog in a prior case. And I know that that's not true, because that's not who he is. Again, I said I don't know, but I did witness how he was with his dog. every day and every night for years and years. And during the day quite often, most days at Safeway. A lot of you people probably saw him. I'm asking for equality of rights with the homeless and the housed. I'm asking for compassion, understanding that a homeless person's dog is their heart, their soul, their mind. They're, right or wrong, they're anchored in that dog mentally and emotionally. There's tons of information out there. People know it's classic mental issue stuff that, you want to leave the dog with the owner. If they're homeless, so don't say you're like, I care about their mental state if you're going to take their dog. So much cheaper to help them. Why do this? I think there's a whole lot of misunderstanding and a whole lot of anger, and he still don't have his dog 4 months in, and I cannot honestly sit here and say that I think he'll live through it. I don't know. It's in God's hands. It's touch and go. God has blessed you all. Email me at reverendcrystalcox@gmail.com if you have any questions on this case, and have some compassion for the homeless, okay? We're not who you think we are. I love you all. Bye for now.